I thought to myself, that picture was way too blown out. I adjusted the aperture and then looked through the viewfinder again. I was attempting to get a good picture at the Nissan Leaf that was parked outside of the main ChargePoint building. As I stood there, taking pictures of the charging stations and the cars that occupied them, I tried to anticipate what was about to happen. I was about to meet with Tom Tormey, Vice President of ChargePoint, a company that pioneered in the electric car charging industry. I adjusted the aperture of my camera and began to think, how should I greet him? Should we shake hands? Are my hands even clean? Just as my anxiety started to kick in, I heard my name being called. I looked up and saw him. Tom was walking down the stairs to come greet me for the first time. "Hey there, Rachel," he said with a deep voice, as he waved me across the stairs. Tom had not always been the vice president of ChargePoint. For as long as I could remember, I always wanted to know how electrical things like telephones and radios and televisions worked, he said. When he was growing up, these things sparked his interest in electrical engineering, which he studied at UC Irvine. Tom graduated from UC Irvine and then got his master's degree at UC Berkeley in engineering. Since then, he has worked in the electrical charging industry and continues to today. He has been through multiple startups, 2 of which he was part of in Southern California, for a total of almost 5 years. I've worked at 4 startups before ChargePoint. Usually about 1 in 1,000 startups go public. In other terms, 98% of them fell, while few are successful. So for me to have a string of 4 in a row to be successful, that's pretty unusual. After he had heard about Coulomb Technologies and what was their goal, Tom was eager to help. Soon after, he was employed by Coulomb Technologies. Tom even thought of the company's new name, ChargePoint. Since then, Tom has traveled all over the world, spreading the message of electric cars and introducing ChargePoint as a company to all sorts of countries. From Mexico City to Tel Aviv, the company has implemented stations to provide service for electric cars owners all around the world. Tom Tormey understands the future of electric cars. More and more people will be making the transition from gas to electric, and without companies like ChargePoint, the community would have less access to electric vehicle charging stations and less accessibility to have charging stations available. Electric vehicles are better for the environment than gasoline cars. There's no argument to that. Even though this is general knowledge, why don't more people make the switch? This is because that even though owning an electric car is cheaper and better for the environment, there's a lack of charging stations in our country, which makes electric cars less appealing than gasoline cars. The crystal ball gazers are expecting to see 1 million of electric vehicles on the road in 5 years, Tom began, smiling. By the end of the year, there will be 50,000. We have a ways to go, but we're off to a good start. We have the technology for various sources of energy and powering vehicles, but why is electricity the ultimate alternative energy? Why did ChargePoint choose to support electricity as a fuel for cars rather than alternative fuels? The distribution of infrastructure already exists for electric cars. He paused, then continued, raising his hands to make a gesture of a box. Other fuels like hydrogen would require you to invest billions of dollars in the equivalent of distribution of infrastructure. For my last interview with Tom, I met with him at the ChargePoint headquarters. I walked into the main door and was led into his office. Tom and I talked, and then for my last question, I asked him, "Tom, you have a lot to do with ChargePoint. How will ChargePoint continue to grow in the future with your help?" He responded with, "The team has been and continues to be responsible for dividing the entire product business roadmap of ChargePoint. So far, we have been pretty successful, so let's hope we continue. Tom Tormey."